You can draw this in Procreate. I will show you how you can create this super easy stylized Santa illustration in Procreate. This Procreate tutorial is perfect for beginners or if you just want to create a fun illustration. And along the way, you will learn about the different tools in the app Procreate. So you don't need any experience at all. Now for this tutorial, we are working on a canvas of 2,300 pixels by 3,000 pixels. And down in the description, you will find a link to the color palette with the colors we'll be using. It's totally free, of course. And then if you're ready, let's get started. All right, let's start by picking a brush. I like to use a brush from the original Procreate library, so before the update. So you need to go to the top here, use that little arrow, then go back to libraries, and then go to the classic library. And then I'd like to go to the calligraphy brushes and use the monoline brush. And for the color, let's use this one, third color in the third row. Now the opacity of this brush is at 100%, the size is at 30. And now we are going to draw an oval like this. Hold your pen in place and then drag in the color. Then we'll go to the magic wand and then to Liquify. Have it set to push, distortion and momentum set to none, pressure to max, and you can vary the size. Let's make that a bit bigger, like 86. And now we are going to shape this oval. We are going to turn it into like a bean shape. So the lower area will be nice and big, and the top will be a little bit squished. So something like this. Yeah, I like that. You can go outside of the shape a little bit with your pen. You don't have to touch the shape. So if you have something like this, then you're fine. Then you can tap the magic wand to get out of here. And then next, we are going to add a new layer on top of this. We'll tap the plus, and then we'll tap that new layer and set it to clipping mask so that whatever we draw here, it'll only show up on this shape. And then for the color, we'll use this one. That's the fourth color in the second row. And then we'll make a shape like this. It's like a W shape like this. Then we'll loop around, close it, and then drag in the color. So this will be the face area, and this is the beard area. Now it's time for another layer. Let's tap the plus and then drag that layer underneath the others. And this is where we are going to create the body shape. Now for the color, let's use this one, third color in the first row, and then make a line like this and one over here, something like this. And then make sure to close that shape, connect the lines, and then drag in the color. Then we'll make another layer. We'll tap the plus and drag that layer underneath. And for the color, we'll use this one, second color in the first row. And then we'll make a line like this and one over here. So these are the arms. Connect the lines and drag in the color. All right, for the next step, we are going to create a nose. Let's put that on a layer at the top. Let's tap the plus. And then for the color, we'll use this one, fourth color in the first row. And I will just draw a circle over here. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle, and then drag in the color. Then let's make a layer underneath this one. Let's tap this one first, then tap the plus. And right now I'd like to switch my brush. I'd like to go to the inking brushes and use the studio pen. And for the color, I'd like to use this one, but let's first add a background color actually, otherwise we won't be able to see this. And I'm using a different brush because it gives me a little bit more control. If you push harder with this brush, you will get a thicker line, and if you press lightly, it'll be thinner. So you have a bit more control. So let's make a layer. Well, actually we can use this one. Let's drag this one to the bottom and give our piece a background color. We'll use this color, 6 color in the first row. Let's drag it on there. And now let's make a layer on top of this one. So let's tap the plus, and for the color, we'll use this one, 5th color in the second row. And we're going to make a line like this. This will be, well, maybe a little bit lower. A line like this for the hat. Then go up, go like this, and connect these two. By the way, my size is at 10%, opacity at 100%, of course. Now let's drag in the color. This is nice. And you can always adjust it a little bit, maybe make it even bigger. And of course, your illustration doesn't have to be the exact same as mine. Yours will be unique. And you can also tap and hold the eraser to make that switch to that studio pen. And that way you can also make some areas a bit more crisp, tidy things up like this. Then let's go back to the brush and let's create a mustache. So we'll make a shape like this here, drag in the color. And then on the other side, something like this. Make sure your shape is closed before you drag in the color. So you get something like this. And on this layer, we can also make 2 eyebrows. Just these 2 little like rounded rectangles. Keep an eye on that nose. So you have one on each side. Something like this. And then let's make a layer underneath. Let's go here and let's tap the plus. Then let's pick this color, 1st color in the 2nd row. So we can add 2 little eyes. And also a little smile. All right, let's give our Santa ears. Let's go to this layer and then tap the plus. Then for the color, we'll use this one. Maybe we can go a little bit darker. Let's go for the 2nd color in the 3rd row. And then give him these nice rounded ears. Very simple shapes. All these rounded shapes give our Santa a very friendly look. And of course, that's what we want him to be. We want him to be friendly. Now let's go and create the rest of the hat. Let's go to this layer, then, or no, we need to be behind our ears. Let's go to this layer. We can actually just use this layer and put the hat on here. Let's go back to the 3rd color in the 1st row. And then we are going to start here and we are going to make a curve like this here behind the ear. You can just go fully behind the ear and make a closed shape here. And no, we can't drag in the color yet. Of course, we need to close it here as well. Then drag in the color. And if you don't entirely like the shape, you can always just go to the Liquify tool again. And then you can just push. I want this to be a little bit smaller. You can also adjust the size of your brush. Sometimes it can be just, it can be handy to just sculpt your illustration a bit. Sometimes that's easier than getting the shape just right. Now let's go back to this layer. Here we can add the little pom-pom. Let's pick this color again. 5th color in the 2nd row. And for a perfectly round circle, it can be handy to go back to the monoline brush. So let's do that. And then let's draw a circle, hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen. And you can always go to edit here at the top, moving it around. I want it to be about here, and then drag in the color. Now one little extra touch. Let's go to this layer. Let's tap the plus. And then let's make a line over here for his clothing. Right now it looks like he's wearing a sweater, which can also be nice, of course. But I want to add this light line. So there's two lines next to each other, then close that shape, and then drag in the color. And let's also add like a 3D effect here for the hat. Let's pick this color, third color, and the second row. And then let's go in here and create that inside of the hat. It's just a tiny little touch. Then finally, I'd like to give him rosy cheeks. We'll go to this layer, that first layer that we created, then tap the plus, then pick this color, fourth color in the first row, and then we'll just draw a circle like this. Hold your pen in place. Again, you can tap your finger on the screen for a perfectly round circle. And you can also use the edit option at the top. Maybe we can make it a little bit bigger. It's not a perfectly round circle anymore, but who knows. Then drag in the color and then make another one over here. Hold your pen in place, tap one finger on the screen. I use the option at the top if you like. I think this looks good. Let's drag in the color. I hope you're having fun so far creating your own Santa illustration. Now, I just wanted to let you know that this week at Patreon, we have been creating this super sweet scene of like a family building a snowman. So I think it suits the whole Santa vibe. But of course, at Patreon, you won't just find this tutorial, but more than 250 others, ranging from beginner to more advanced levels and with loads of different subjects. So if you haven't already, go check that out. I will leave a link for you down in the description. It would be great to see you there. But now let's continue. So now we have a very stylized Santa, and it's going to look even better once we add the textures. And to do that, I'd like to use some brushes from my Procreate treasure chest, and I have them in the other library. So we need to tap that arrow again. Maybe you have it in this library. I need to go back to libraries, to the Procreate library, and here's the Art with Flow treasure chest brush pack. And I'd like to use the spackle brush. And then let's turn on alpha lock on our layers, because if we have alpha lock turned on, we can only paint and add texture to the shape that's already on the layer. We won't be able to go outside of the shape, so that's super handy. So for each layer, you can tap the layer and turn on alpha lock, or you can swipe to the right with two fingers. Well, we actually don't need this one, but I just swipe to the right. So you see that little checkerboard pattern. This one, it's the background, so we don't need it there. And now let's start with this bottom layer. And then for the color, let's start with this one. Like these four colors are for the clothing. So you can switch between these colors while we add shading. So we'll start with the third one. Opacity of the brush is at 100%. Size is at 45. And then let's add some texture, some lighter texture. You can also do that here. And I'm going to imagine that the light is coming from this direction. So this side will be lighter. So let's pick this color as well. Fourth color in the first row. And then I'll add more of this lighter color to this arm. And we can add a little bit here. And let's also pick this darker color, first color in the first row, because we'll have some shadow like underneath the beard and also next to the body here. Then let's move to this layer. For the rest of the clothing, let's start with this color, second color in the first row, for some darker texture. We just want that grainy texture all over. I'm not using a lot of pressure, just a little bit. And then we have that shadow underneath here. So Now for that, we can use this darker color, first color in the first row. Add that shadow. Maybe a little bit here. And here we can add some lighter color. We can use that fourth color in the first row again. And then add some light here. And we can do the same thing with the hat. Let's start with the second color in the first row. Add some shadow right here because that face, that head is blocking the light a little bit there. And now we can switch to the fourth color in the first row for a little bit of light at the top here and on the right. This is already starting to look so much better. Then let's move on to this layer. Let's first pick this color, fourth color, in the second row just for some slight texture. You won't see it that well, but it's there. You have the pom-pom here, right? Which, oh no, that little part. I was trying to cover the pom-pom, but all right, it's just that part. And now let's pick this color, third color in the second row. Slowly building that up. Here we have that shadow, maybe a little bit here. And then let's go even darker with the second color and the second row. Even more shadow, and also here, just a little bit. That looks good. Then on to the rosy cheeks. For those, I'd like to use this color, third color in the third row to just blend. It's not the rosy cheeks. Oh, it's the ears. I'm sorry. Still want to use that color. Adding a little bit of light to them. They sure look like the rosy cheeks, but of course it's that layer. Then let's pick this darker color, first color in the third row. And add a little bit of shadow. I think this looks good. Then onto the face. We'll just move from the bottom to the top. Onto the face, we have these colors. We can start with this one, a second color in the third row, and just use that for some shadow effect on the left side and also underneath the hat. And now we can make this part a little bit lighter. We can use that fourth color in the third row. Just add a little bit of light on its face. And then we can go darker with the first color in the third row. Just adding more shadow underneath the hat. And you can see that I'm not painting directly here. I'm painting a little bit higher because it's quite a big brush, and I will make it more subtle. Then on to the rosy cheeks. And now we can pick this color, third color in the third row, and blend in those cheeks just a little bit like this. I think that looks super cute. If you have removed too much, you can always just go back to that fourth color in the first row and bring back some of that pink. And now we can move on to the beard. Let's use that third color in the second row. We have some shadow here and also just this entire left side. Well, we can add some of that gray. And we can also make some strokes like this, some curves. I think that's nice. And some shadow underneath the mustache and the nose. You can gently build this up. We can also use that fifth color in the second row for some lighter parts. Some light texture. You can also push back these strokes a little bit. You can just go back and forth with these colors. Now we can also go darker with the second color in the second row. Maybe some more shadow here and underneath the mustache. And perhaps a little bit here. And I also want to add a few little lines here maybe. Let's go back to the other library and then to the studio pen. pick this third color in the second row. And we can just add a few of these curves. I think that's a nice extra touch. Then let's go back to the other library. So back to libraries, to the Procreate library, if it's in another library for you, of course. Back to the spackle brush. And you could also, in this case, go back to that fourth color in the second row if you want to push these lines back a little bit. Just blend them in. I think that looks nice. Then on to this layer where we have the mustache and the eyebrows and such. Now let's pick this color, a third color in the second row. Add a little bit of this to the bottom. And we can also use this color, actually, fourth color in the second row, because we have that very light color right now. So we can just go over, add some of that texture. It's very subtle, but it's there. And then switch to that third color in the second row. A tiny bit of texture, a little bit over here, a little gradient. And here we can add some to the lower left. And then we are all the way at the top. We are at the nose. Let's use this color again, third color in the third row, for a tiny bit of light at the top of the nose. And then the only thing we still need to texture is our background. Let's go to the background layer. Let's pick this fifth color in the first row. And let's set the size of the brush to 100%. And then we'll go to this corner. And we'll go here. We'll just add a bunch of this texture. But the most here in the left area, because that light is coming from this area and Santa is blocking some of that light. And we can also use this color, seventh color in the first row, for a little bit of a lighter area here on the right side. It's all very subtle, but it looks awesome. And then there you have your stylized Santa illustration. I hope you had fun. Let me know if you did. Don't forget to share your work, and I would love to see you next time for the next tutorial.